The latest update introduced us to 7 new hypercharges, and well, that now puts us at 37, so I made this poll to see which ones you think are the best. In 36th place, we have Jackie with 1 vote, followed by Colt with 2 votes, and Rosa, Charlie, Bull, and Brock with 3 votes. Jackie's hypercharge probably only got 1 vote because it doesn't do anything valuable. Slowing down enemies that are already being pulled next to you isn't really needed, and slowing down enemies that dodge the pull is only sometimes helpful. Anyways, that 1 vote's probably from some Jackie main out there in the audience. Now you may be wondering, wait Jim, but there's 37 hypercharges. How did Jackie get 36th place? I'll explain that at the end. Colt got 2 votes because, wow, he got a wider super. I guarantee you the Colt mains are gonna miss it anyways. Rosa's hypercharge looks cool and the slow is actually pretty effective, but once the enemy is just a little bit far from you, there goes all the use. So she got 3 votes. Charlie got 1 vote for each spider. Bull has a good hypercharge, I think. In fact, he has a great hypercharge. He's just a bad brawler. Brock's hypercharge, well, he managed to become known for his hyper super dealing less damage than his regular super. After that, we got Spike, Barley, and El Primo, who all finished with 6 votes. Spike and Barley have good hypercharges, but for time's sake, their primary aspect is a size increase, which likely left them at the bottom. El Primo does have an interesting concept with his hypercharge, as it can allow himself and any friendly splash damaging brawlers to eliminate the enemies quicker. Maisie, Gale, and Belle all got 7 votes, leaving them to tie for 25th place. The Hank player in me loves what Maisie's hypercharge offers, but sadly it's not really meant to hit all the projectiles, so who knows. Gale got 7 votes and I don't know, maybe it's because his first blast already pushes enemies the whole way back, so there's nowhere further for the second one to push them, so it's kind of just like a super with a little bit more damage, in a sense. Belle's ability to mark the enemy is great, but her hypercharge kind of takes forever to fill. Is it that simple? Shelly got 24th place with just 8 votes, as her hypercharge isn't too special. Em's got 10 votes, because her hypercharge isn't as hyper with walls, and Miko got 12 votes because I guess his hypercharge is just okay. Sprout came in 21st place with 13 votes, but that's mostly because his hyper super's damage is the highest in the center, where, you know, the wall is that prevents players from going to the center, but he is good in heist. This video is being interrupted for some really good news. Code Jimbo is now in the Brawl Stars shop. Please use it. Rico, Nita, and Angelo all got 14 votes as we move through the mediocre, where Rico's hypercharge is like a mock mutation, Nita's hypercharge gives her bear extremely high health, and Angelo's zesty hypercharge makes his whole Swamp Thing move. Somehow. Jessie surprisingly only got 15 votes, where in my opinion, her hypercharge is very powerful. If it were up to me, it would probably be placed in the top 5, but since it's up to you, it got 17th place. Moving along, we have Buzz who got 17 votes because, you know, his hypercharge was hit with an emergency nerf-ish before it got released. I can only imagine where it would have landed if he had infinite supers on contact. BB scored 21, and I think that the only criticism we can hit her hypercharge with is the fact that her bubble split prevents BB from having a piercing bubble continuing straight after it passes a target. Pearl came in with a surprising 22 votes. I say surprising because her super knocks enemies back and then sets the ground on fire. You know, where the enemy used to be standing before she knocked them back. Cordelius came in next with 28 votes. His super was already extremely strong without the hypercharge. It nerfs the enemy, buffs the Cordelius, and it isolates them for a temporary 1v1. When you add the enemy getting extremely slowed, it makes out for the hypercharge to be one of the best at 1v1s. So out of 37, it got 13th place. Tick and Edgar both got 29 votes. Tick's hyperminds literally deal as much damage as his super, but they do have a slight delay before they make any contact. Did I mention that the head is a lot faster when it's hyper? I mean, it makes sense. As for Edgar, he gets to spam supers, attacks, and thumbs down pins faster than you can ever imagine, with a record-breaking reload speed of 0.35 seconds per ammo. If you pair all of these stats with his fisticuff star power, he's almost unstoppable. Surprisingly, they tied for 11th place. I expected a lot higher for Edgar though. So now we enter the top 10. Dynamite came in next with 36 votes. If you were cool enough to watch this video, you would know that his Hyper Super one-shots 51 brawlers, which now becomes 52 with the introduction of Barry. Then the Cluster Bomb comes to take it away, and overall Dynamite is very OP and he surely deserved that 10th place. Fang came in 9th with 40 votes. The long series of nerfs Fang got throughout the past few months is probably what prevented him from getting in the top 3. Around the beginning of the 5v5 era, Fang kind of ruled the meta as he could get away with spamming that yellow button, as you probably remember. Whether you were an innocent bystander, the victim, or even the Fang, if you played when the Hypercharge first came out, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 7th place brought us with our final tie with Crow and Leon, who each got 43 votes. Crow is a menace at dealing damage with his Hypercharge, it being one of the highest numbers anyone has ever seen with one super. When it comes to facing brawlers, the now piercing daggers are much more efficient at shredding numerous enemies all at once, greatly increasing his team wiping abilities. As for Leon, his new ability to remain invisible for the duration of his super enables him to do a lot more, especially in consideration of how his star powers will now be in effect for the full 6 to 8 second duration that his super is active. Colette got 6th place, racking up a total of 47 votes. At the current moment, Colette can entirely break a high safe in exactly 4 hyper supers, so we can allow that to set the stage for her strength. If you happen to miss her super, the spirit that follows Colette could be the one to make the contact and still deliver some pretty high damage. Piper beat Colette by just 1 vote, landing a pretty high place for a brand new Hypercharge, but her placement in 5th is most certainly deserved. The classic long distance sniper in Brawl Stars has now gotten the super of an assassin. Her landing blast knocks entities back so far that you can basically play tennis with the enemies if you line everything up the right way. If they get too close, the bombs she leaves behind pack a lot more of a punch, and altogether, Piper's Hyper Super is overall doing great in 5th place. Before we continue, I said there was a reason Jackie got 36th place and I'd share it at the end, and well, I'm gonna go ahead and share that here. Basically, Jackie got 36th place because one of the brawlers got 0 votes for having the best Hypercharge, and Google decided to just not tell me. Can you guess which brawler it was? It was Jean, which doesn't surprise me one bit. Add just 1 more vote and we got Max. This one genuinely shocked me. Given that she's a support brawler with a support Hypercharge, I was really surprised to see that the community actually had a good amount of people who labeled it as the best. But even though it's a support Hypercharge, it's one heck of a good support Hypercharge. 53 of the 1,113 votes went to Lou, including my vote. The stun and freeze mechanic is arguably the best negative effect to hit an enemy with, and thanks to Lou's Hypercharge, he doesn't even struggle to freeze the enemies. After the initial contacts freeze, Lou can hit them with a gadget to speed up the second freeze, and with the help of his teammates, he can very easily cause a team wipe with his Hyper Super. And now, we are on the final 2, where the remaining 454 votes are split between Frank and Sandy. Are you surprised? Well, in 2nd place, with 192 votes, we have Sandy. When you have a friendly Sandy ready to deliver their Hyper Super, you know you are loving it, because it makes you insanely, game-breakingly fast. If you pick the right brawler, it's infinitely better. The silence on the enemies can actually be huge, since, you know, it's like impossible to miss, and overall, either of Sandy's star powers, as well as his mythic gear, make his Hyper Super an insanely strong storm, as it ended up taking 17.3% of all 1,113 votes. And finally, Frank's Seismic Smash Hypercharge swept the board in 1st place with a total of 262 votes. This monstrosity of a Hyper Super may have been implicitly paired with Frank's new rework, but that's completely fine, as the two are most likely to still be paired in battle. Frank's new super and overall build now took the meta over so fast that he was labeled as a significantly broken brawler on social media very shortly after the update. This poll was made on June 27th, so allow that to explain where most of the votes fell. And here's your results. Subscribe to vote in the next one. My posts are more likely to pop up in your feed. Thank you, members.